Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new edition of Virtue's Brand of Wrestling, special edition, Virtue and Vice. Yes, Robbie Vice is back with me. We have a special edition of Virtue and Vice right here on the BigVitoBrand.com and also over on WrestlingWithWrestling.com. Our good friend Andre Corbeil. What is up, Robbie Vice?
I guess, I don't do like a lot of personal stuff a lot, but I got engaged last Fridays on the 10th or whatever. So that was exciting. That was good. She said yes, obviously. Otherwise, thanks, man.
That's just, but congratulations.
I get it. Thanks.
If I don't make fun of you for that, that's how, and I didn't, right?
No, you didn't. No.
Other than I think the ring. I said the ring looked good on your finger.
Yeah.
Or something like that, but yeah.
It probably would, but no, man, I've been slowly getting back into wrestling. The SmackDown and Raw I usually watch on a fast forward, but I've actually been keeping up AEW, NXT. Some really interesting stuff happened in Impact, so there's some stuff happening, and I'm starting to go back in, at least to the point where I know everything that's going on now, but I don't think I'm quite to the point where I can sit through a full Raw and full SmackDown along with everything else right now. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Speaking of Slammiversary, and I know Andre loves his Impact Wrestling and TNA, and he promotes it heavily on his channel.
Yeah, for sure.
I saw, EC3 had a promo at the end of the show. I saw Motor City Machine Guns reunited and came back. Eric Young was back looking, doing crazy moves because he's great, but, WWE botches it with everyone. Who else was there? Oh, the Good Brothers debuted. And I feel like we're always going to get this in wrestling. You're always going to have people returning back to a company they work for or coming from WWE. So at this point, it is what it is. The question is, how will they book them? Will they make that worth tuning in? You can have all the key players in a promotion or at least a good group of key players like we're going to talk about shortly with AEW. But if you don't execute them properly, they're no better than WWE, right? So,
well, if they're not executed properly, they turn into Brody Lee.
And they have a lot of controversy coming out of Impact. They had, obviously let Joey Ryan go. Tessa Blanchard. Yeah. So, Michael Elgin or Elgin. I never know how you say his name. But so they're looking for these fresh. Heath Slater and Rhino reunited. So
that was cool. Yeah.
Those type of things will get me to pay attention on the internet to Impact more. And then if I start seeing some cool stuff, I will actually maybe try to watch it. Or I don't know if they're on Twitch still, what channel on cable they are, but we'll see. So with all the Slammiversary stuff, maybe it gets me interested in Impact Wrestling. But the first thing I want to talk about, Robbie, Kenny Omega. Okay, this was the guy having Dave Meltzer, 8-star matches, whatever him and Okada were getting. He was doing really well doing these long matches in Japan. Now, I watched him heavily. I was interested when the Bullet Club was over there, all the way back to like Finn Balor, AJ Styles, and they were heels. I love the Westerners going over there and getting booed and being heels. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Switchblade Jay White because he's from, I believe, New Zealand, but he's now a heel. He was like one of the leaders of the Bullet Club. I love watching New Japan because of the heels.
Yeah.
So Kenny Omega did a pretty good job as leader of the Bullet Club over there when AJ departed for WWE. They set Omega up to take over, and he was cutting some pretty good promos, again, as a heel. So that complemented those great matches. Now he comes over to AEW. Now him, Cody, and the Bucks, basically they didn't want the Jeff Jarrett type feedback, right, where you push yourselves to the top. Although I think at this point they should all do it. We saw how Cody's doing it. He didn't go for the world title. MJF beat him, so he could never compete for it. Then they made up the TNT title. Now he's defending it. He's like 13-0 since. But Kenny Omega, he's a guy that you just put him in a tag team with Hangman Page, and they're good. But there's just they don't cut promos. The most interesting thing of those two is the Hangman Page drinking beer, right? Because it relates to Austin, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the problem with Kenny Omega here in North America? I think as a heel, he did a very serviceable job, even on the mic in New Japan, and can be a main player. And we know what he can do in the ring. I know Jim Cornette says he has happy feet. But what from your perspective, in America, go ahead and either say what you like about Kenny Omega or just go ahead and shit on him, because I'm not quite sure where you're going to go here.
Kenny Omega has a style that is not sustainable on a weekly television-based program. So I think when Kenny could go out there and he would have these insane matches, and then he would be gone for a little bit, and then he'd have some more matches, but he wasn't doing weekly television. And I think something they haven't done well for him is his character, the way that they've kind of written him, or if he's written himself, because I loved Kenny Omega. I actually, that was my most hyped guy when I was watching AEW. I was like, you know what, Kenny Omega is going to be sweet, because I was a big fan of him. I loved his gimmick when he was the cleaner. He came out in that T2, that Terminator stuff. His entrance music was like that kind of Final Fantasy VII thing going on, and just everything about him. It was just, he had a character. He had mystique. Now he's just Kenny Omega. He's a guy that did jobs for the first half because he didn't want to go too over, but I think they went overboard with that. And it's at a point now where when we first did our first review that you and I did, I told you that I just didn't see anything out of Hangman Page. I told you I don't know, I don't see it. Now, as we've come further, I think I've seen character from Hangman Page. I think he's kind of finding his way. Whereas Kenny Omega, I'm just like, dude, without Hangman Page, I don't think I would care about anything Kenny Omega's done so far. I don't think he's had any meaningful matches. It's just been, I don't know. He seems like someone who needs to have a strong character that builds up to big matches, and he can do that. But I just don't know, this weekly TV thing. I'm just not buying the character. I don't think he's a force to be reckoned with. He's, by statistical AEW stats, he's average. So I don't see the appeal to him right now.
What they need to do, because we know, he can go in there and have matches, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Probably, even though he's Mr. Happy Feet, according to Jim Cornette, it's still what Kenny Omega does in the ring is what 75% of today's wrestlers can pretty much try to do in the ring. Yeah. So it is, from the modern fan standpoint, it's the style of wrestling that most people like. What AEW needs to do, and they're starting to kind of do it with Cody with the TNT title and always going over. Vince Russo swears they're going to erect a Cody statue in front of Daly's place in Jacksonville. That's the way they're booking him. I feel like if they do this right, they have a CM Punk scenario, because they could have Kenny Omega come out any show and just drop just a shoot promo. I don't care if he can speak on the mic or not, and just say to the fans, look, I came here. Look what I did in Japan, right? But look, since we're here, right, and we have to, he should literally come out and just say whatever's on his mind and create that against Tony Khan, against AEW. I don't know if it would be, okay. Punk tried to do it, or did it, and did it well, and it actually he became a baby face.
Yeah.
That's what they should do, because I think at this point then people would be like, holy crap. You'd start having the internet say, oh my God, this is AEW's CM Punk moment, but with Kenny Omega. Now, I don't know. At the time, we knew Punk was pretty good, right? Because he did that. He had the longer hair. Then he finally got a haircut. He was in Nexus. But we didn't know he was this great promo guy. He did the Straight Edge Society and stuff, and I liked all of that. But we didn't really know he was this Mr. Pipe Bomb promo guy until 2011, right? And he got that opportunity. I say the same thing about Roman Reigns. What can these guys do if you put them in a situation like that? I think AEW puts Kenny Omega in a situation like that if they could have some big-time buzz. And then guess what? All these rumors we always get about Punk coming back, he ain't coming back unless something is there that makes sense to him. To me, unless you pass away, and if you're a wrestler, you always find your way back. I know it's been a long time with Punk. I feel like he's trying to get a lot of people to forget about him getting squashed in UFC. But what do you think if they did that with Omega, and then somehow they got a deal for Punk to come back, maybe be the heel? I don't know how this would work. I mean, and they could write it to where if it went one way, then Kenny could be the heel, Punk could be the babyface, but maybe try to do it the other way first. Punk coming back and saying, what are you trying to do, what I did 10 years ago? You know what I mean? You're the problem with wrestling today. I said there was a problem 10 years ago. I stepped away 6 years ago, and look at it. Everybody wants to rate matches, and I think they have gold. But question is, do you think Omega could pull it off? And do you think there's any possibility at all Punk could land back in wrestling, specifically AEW in this situation?
That's a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be great. Do I think Kenny Omega could do it? Yeah, I do. I think if he could go out there and just basically he would probably have to be just kind of responding to Punk, and it would have to be almost organic. Everything probably would have to have some real stuff. They would have to have some maybe real opinions about each other that could come out, and that could be interesting. Punk coming back. See, this is where I don't know, because this is what I will say. I think if Punk comes back, it will be like 2022 is like that's the year I kind of think, because I don't think he's not going to come back during COVID. I just he's going to need the huge arena, right? Because we all know Punk has an ego, like all of the greats do, right? It's going to take a Brinks truck of money to get that done, but I think it could be a good promo, and it actually, I think in a couple of years it might be better, because Punk's going to get into that Jericho age gap of I'm still a veteran, but with Punk you could even sell him being afraid to lose what he has, and getting older, that could eventually make him a sympathetic babyface if we got full heel Omega. So yeah, man, I think that could be a great promo. I think Omega could do it. I think he could shoot. It's just like, is Tony Khan too much of a mark? Could he handle that situation? Could he handle writing and producing for CM Punk?
They want more than 700,000 people.
Yeah, man.
You have to. And I'm not saying this would all draw to, 3 million. I mean, shit. The best WWE was doing with Reigns and Lesnar the last 2 years was 2.5. They'd get the spike up to 3 million if Austin was on the show. That's just the state wrestling's at. So with the pandemic, now we're talking numbers under 2 million. And then Wednesday nights, they're adding up to 1.4 between the two shows. There needs to be something. And that handcuffs need to come off. And Tony Khan, I mean, if you want to be this hipster wrestling promoter, Vince McMahon's not going to do it, which we'll talk a little bit later here with Roman Reigns. Vince McMahon's not going to allow anybody to come back and be themselves. I mean, if that's the case, we probably see John Cena or The Rock back more often. But because they're expensive and their schedule, and Vince knows if they come back, they're going to say what they want, that doesn't really happen that often, right? But Tony Khan, I think, has the ability to make things happen. Let Kenny Omega go out there and be, or any wrestler, and try to become bigger than AEW. Bring in Punk. I hate the fact wrestlers can't become bigger than the companies. Tony Khan needs to allow that to happen in AEW, because that's
what's hurting the whole business too.
Yes. And Tony Khan is in a position to let it happen, because he's not Vince McMahon. I mean, yes, he's tweeting about ratings. Vince McMahon doesn't do that. Well, if you're tweeting about ratings and demo, don't you want to figure out ways to boost them up? So
I don't get this either. What can you explain this to me? Because I've been gone for a little bit, right?
I'll try.
Why are fans AEW NXT? Why are they going like seething angry arguments about ratings?
Because the fact, back in the day there was a ratings war, but we never talked. We didn't care. We just wanted to say what show was better than the other one, but we didn't say, by 2 million people. We still watched them both, or we taped one, watch the other live, and then watch the recording. Today, because information is at your fingertips, and you can make a quick comment on social media, fans want to believe by talking about numbers that they become experts. So when they're looking at this, if they're AEW fans and they see that rating is total viewers are up, like for this week it actually was after lost 3 weeks in a row to NXT, they can now say, yes, we had more viewers for our show. And then if their show didn't win, like NXT did the 3 previous weeks, then they go to the demo. Oh, but advertising, that Jericho's actually putting this into his promos. Now, people like Disco Inferno are like, what are you doing, Chris? Like, why do you talk about that? Well, I think Jericho at this point realizes who gives a crap what he talks about, because he knows like the diehard fans are the only ones watching it. They're going to eat it up. Yeah. So I think Jericho mentioning Demo, he knew he was going to sell a T-shirt, and I bet you it's selling well. Demo God, ratings king. So,
but the other part to that, dude, is these are the same people that shit all over Raw and SmackDown and say how bad it is, but they're like getting a third of the ratings. So yeah, I guess they're beating the third brand at WWE, and I don't really care. I don't have a dog in this fight, especially anymore. But like, who's like, how does that make sense? Literally, like 700,000 versus 2.5 million. If 2.5 million is pathetic and shitty, and they're gonna go out of business, but how is 700,000 acceptable because of who's watching it? the demo of 18 to 25 who don't even have money. Like,
It's like PlayStation or any of those video game platinum trophies and stuff. Sure, you can get a lot of bronze, silver, and gold, but not many people have the platinum trophies. So I don't know. But yeah, because information is at their fingertips and all the dirt sheets are posting the ratings, and then they can instantly comment in a comment section or on Twitter, which they couldn't do really back in the Attitude Era because the internet was still kind of new. And it was harder to navigate.
Chat rooms.
Yes, it was different. It was harder to navigate. Yeah. But yeah, right. They're obsessed by ratings. And of course, it's a big war, right? They're sharing 1.4 million people. So whether they win total or demo, you're going to hear one side say, well, we did better in this. And then the other side said, oh, well, we did better in this.
And it's younger wrestling fans and then older wrestling fans. And they're just, it's funny. And then they all come together to watch WWE.
Yeah, Jericho's in that demo 18 to 49. So somebody said, I can't remember who told me this, it'd be funny if once Jericho hits 50, and he might be close now, or just past that demo, he needs to turn on the demo 18 to 49 demo.
I agree.
That would be great. And that's Jericho. So yeah, some people are thinking it's cringe what Jericho's doing. Well, he's making money. I mean, dude, he's going to sell T-shirts to those marks.
Yeah.
He's going to sell 350,000 T-shirts probably to half of that AEW audience. That's what's going to happen there.
If Disco asked why Chris Jericho is doing that, he should just be like, well, I'm talking about it. Other people are talking about it. Everyone's talking about it. That's why Chris Jericho is Chris Jericho.
Now, we can't close a show that you and I haven't done a one-on-one like this for months without talking about Roman Reigns. He's out because of, obviously he's in remission with leukemia, so he does not want to get COVID-19. So he went away, right? Didn't even perform at WrestleMania. Now, when people go away, when Daniel Bryan decides not to do Saudi Arabia, he gets jobbed out. When Kevin Owens stays home for a few weeks, he gets on kickoff shows. When Becky Lynch gets pregnant, Seth Rollins loses matches. I mean, that's the WWE, right? But when Brock Lesnar can do what he wants, they always bring him back and push him because he's Brock Lesnar. I think Roman's in that same boat. Vito actually disagreed with me and said he thinks Roman's going to get buried when he comes back. Well, Roman's smart enough now. Why is Roman smart enough? Because he's made $12 million working for WWE, headlining 4 WrestleManias. He's not going to come back and job at the money that they're going to pay him. He makes 7 figures. So he's not afraid to come back and probably push back. Hey, I'm not going to do that. What do you think's going to happen with Roman if and when he returns?
Nothing will change. He's going to be on the top card because guess what? No, you know why? Because if Vince screws over Roman, dude, that family will literally go to Vince's house and kill him.
And now we hear the word nepotism, but Vince, he's probably very afraid of that family. That's a family you don't want to fuck with. The Rock is in that family, and he's the biggest Hollywood movie.
How much mileage did he get out of Yokozuna, the Wild Samoans? Dude, absolutely. The Rock, yeah, that family.
They're trying with Nia Jax, but it's just. Ugh.
What's happened to her recently? Is she still even a thing?
TikToks, but I thought she was supposed to go back to NXT, or I don't know. I haven't seen her on TV much. I think she hurt Charlotte, and then I think they realized she's still kind of green in the ring. But here's the thing with Roman, dude. He's working out, right? Shows that
he's done some push-ups, dude.
Roman really has. I know in FCW he wore trunks and you could see, his whole body and stuff. But when he came to the main roster, he was the Shield gimmick. So he was basically in the pants and the bulletproof whatever. Yeah. And that's been his gimmick ever since. I don't know what he's going to come back at, but this dude is jacked. And I've done my study with Roman Reigns on the shows, whether it's Raw or SmackDown. And I have 2 cases now of ratings before and after, back when he had leukemia and he missed time and just recently. He's definitely responsible, even during the pandemic, for easily 500,000 eyeballs. Because it's twice now. The shows before and after when he was out with leukemia was a 500,000 difference. And just before he went out, and he actually did 4 shows during this pandemic with no fans. Okay? So this guy, it's not Austin Rock numbers, but I'm telling you, when he comes back, they're going to push him right back to the top. Now, do you think they ever do anything differently with him, or is it going to still be same old Roman? Do you think we get some character development? I
I
think
think
he's
that's a
got to want.
possibility.
He's got to want to do it.
I
He's
think
got
he
to want to
does.
go
Yeah.
out there and win the
Oh yeah.
haters over. But he knows by being Vince's guy like that, like he was, he can't be. So what's your take on Jack Roman? Could he come over, and if they allowed him to perform without handcuffs,
They
could
will.
he be bigger than he ever was? I'm not. I
Yeah.
know that's not saying a
No,
lot.
dude.
I'm
No,
not
you're right
talking
on the mark with
Austin,
that.
Rock, even Cena, because it's a different era where they don't allow you to be bigger than the company. But can he be a bigger deal than he ever has been,
Yeah.
especially now?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you this. Um, a lot of those guys in their prime would never consider leaving WWE, right? Except when Austin got pissed because he didn't want to jump to Lesnar. But for the most part, those guys in that position, man, they Vince can basically do whatever, and they're just like, okay, okay. Roman showed them, okay, I'm just not going to do it. He literally left before WrestleMania and just said, I don't need
Before
this right now.
WrestleMania. You know, that doesn't get talked about that much.
Yeah,
Could have toughed it out for a taping and got that match. But
easily
man,
could
I
have
mean,
done
he
it.
probably knew he was going over Goldberg and win the title, and
And he still said no. So
yeah.
I think when if he comes back and he's like, dude, I'll come back, Vince, but I want to do this. I want to explore my character more. I don't just want to be this guy anymore. I want to be a complex, I want to see what I can do, or else I don't really think it's worth it for me. Vince has no other options because Seth Rollins is probably one of the greatest in the ring right now, but man, Roman is the face of
Dude,
WWE. He was the guy. He was the guy. Undertaker in the ring pat him on the shoulder and said, "This is your yard now." I don't think he would just say that if he didn't truly believe that in that moment. So if Mark Calloway says so, man, that's Roman's. It's his. He's the leader.
he makes seven figures. Do you think a year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, net worth of $12 million, and all he's ever really done is work for WWE. So it's not
Yeah.
like he was in a movie, right? Very, very small role. So
Right.
he's made his money in WWE. Vince McMahon is paying him seven figures. Do you think Vince McMahon would pay somebody seven figures for as long as he has Roman, the last 4 years, 5 years, if that wrestler wasn't bringing back seven figures higher than
Oh,
he was
yeah.
getting paid for Vince? So people might want to hate, well, look at Roman. He can't draw 4 million like Cena did, or 5 million, 6 million like Rock and Austin did. Well, he must be making Vince money somehow because Vince would not have kept him in. We know how fickle Vince is with pulling people quick.
Yeah.
He's had Roman up there, and even he's actually pulled Roman back a little bit from title scenarios because of the fan backlash. But Roman's always been in the main event mix, and so just because of the money he gets paid, Vince ain't gonna donk money off to somebody that ain't making him money, and people forget that fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah, dude. Roman's gonna come. He'll come back. I think he'll have a lot more say. I think it's a power move. Like, look, when Austin left, and was like, dude, I'm not doing that. I'm out. I'm pretty sure the rest of the time he's ever done anything, he's done whatever he wants. Didn't The Rock call CM Punk in the middle of the ring, like on his cell phone? You get to a point when Vince knows that he doesn't own you anymore, that he will treat you much better. I think he will get
dude,
it.
Brock does. I mean, Brock's a good worker and does what he's
Yeah.
told, but you think Brock probably tells Vince, "I ain't doing that," or you know what
Oh
I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe you booked it that
Well,
way. And then he
he
throws the
did.
title at him.
He said if you don't hire back my best friend Shelton Benjamin, I'm not coming back. So they
Yeah.
gave him Shelton Benjamin money in a contract. I mean, yeah, if Brock could, I just don't think there's very much. Brock could be like, I want you to fly me in a helicopter that's shaped and looks exactly like my face. Vince would be like, okay, pal, I'll see what I can do.
And we deserve that. Like when Roman comes back, we deserve that Roman and Fiend match that they were going to screw us out of because of freaking
Yeah,
Goldberg.
I know.
And I know
Yeah.
there's some people out there that say Bray Wyatt's not a draw, and every time he wins a title, like they always bring numbers up and stuff like that. Like Bray Wyatt's a character guy, right? So he's
Yeah.
not a guy like I would. You don't build your like he's like a Foley,
He's exactly
right?
like
He's
Foley
like a
and Kane,
Foley, and
kind of.
Foley
Yeah.
got hurt a lot too. And I know that's been Bray's problem. He's got a lot of untimely injuries, but his character. I mean, dude, this guy could be in Hollywood, being in horror films. I grew up in the '80s, and the horror movie genre all the way through the 90s was awesome, and then in the
Oh yeah.
2000s up to today it sucks. A lot of it's private funded stuff, and it's just not the same, or it's just remakes.
Well,
I
it's all
think a
jump
guy like
scares
Bray
now too.
Wyatt, a director or a producer, someone out in Hollywood, dude, this guy's good. I saw some of the stuff he was doing on the show tonight. God, he could host a show. He could host like a movie marathon. This guy's good with that genre. Very good. But anyway, anything else? I mean, we hit 25 minutes, man. I'm impressed. I didn't know after not doing this for a while. I don't know if we were going to be able to even hit 20 minutes, but
I can always talk, my friends.
You'd like to add it?
Well, let's see. Has anything meaningful happened? I mean, I thought them AJ leaving for SmackDown because he hates Paul Heyman was pretty interesting. I wonder if that had anything to do with Vince just being like, dude, everyone hates you. I can't have you in charge of this anymore. You're going back to just being a talent. I think that was the most notable thing that I really kind of took away for the past few weeks.
I'm glad you brought that up because, God, they just don't know. Wrestling companies don't know how to push people anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I know Matt Riddle's had that controversy, but obviously it's not controversy. This girl, he cheated on his wife with a girl. He clearly didn't abuse her. This girl's just clinging on. They already had him lose clean to AJ Styles on SmackDown last Friday.
Yep.
Matt Riddle. Like, I thought when you brought wrestlers in, even if you give him an ultimate goal, right? What could Matt Riddle's piece be?
Well, they let Kevin Owens beat John Cena.
You make him undefeated on SmackDown against anybody there. You build him up to finally cross paths with Lesnar, and then for a pay-per-view or a WrestleMania, let Lesnar beat him. Riddle would have done that. That would have been big bucks for him. But you have him lose to AJ already, and that's just because it's like they don't think wins and losses matter. We know it's fake, but they kind of do matter. Like, why did he even face AJ? Yeah, for the Intercontinental title already if he's going to feud with Corbin. It's stupid.
If they would have wrote Arnold Schwarzenegger to fall down and cry every time there was a loud noise in Terminator, you probably wouldn't be like buying him as a giant badass every time he was on screen. And that's kind of what they did to Matt Riddle. All of a sudden he comes up and he's kicking ass, but then he just loses cleanly on a television match that means nothing. So then you're like, oh, well, I guess he's like every other guy on this show.
And I know it's AJ. Like, losing clean to AJ it's not a career killer. AJ's all-time great. He's like the Shawn Michaels of this generation in terms of what he does in the ring. But anyway, I had to bring that up. I'm watching Riddle like a hawk. I can't wait for Reigns to come back in a Riddle-Reigns scenario. I mean, there's all kinds of things. So
I mean, I don't know, man. If Reigns keeps doing whatever he's doing, he's gonna come back and he's gonna be like a mini Lesnar. He looks terrifyingly huge.
Stop, dude. I hope Fiend wins the title at SummerSlam over Strowman, and then I hope when Reigns comes back, it's Fiend and Reigns finally takes it from Fiend. I would be fine with Fiend losing clean to Roman, but we'll see.
Yeah, one last 10-second question for you.
Oh.
Since they don't have live fans right now, it's really hard for me to gauge, and I don't get to talk to you guys as much as I used to. Is Drew McIntyre resonating with fans?
Before the pandemic, he did get the arena to do 1, 2, 3 Claymore, 3, 2, 1 Claymore, which is silly, but it's like a thing that kids go along to. But the fact is, fans boo Roman, right? They don't, fans don't have to chant what they don't want. The fact that they were doing that, so without fans, yes, it screwed him because that's really all he had. But he did get a pop when he eliminated Lesnar. Yeah. He needed the fans for this run, and it sucks.
I agree.
It sucks for him right now.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned to see if we ever get back to any normalcy.
Indeed.
I mean, with the President of the United States through at least the rest of this year, probably not. But,
probably not.
And even if the other guy wins this year, I don't like to talk politics big. I think we're still going to be screwed. I just wish we could get real politicians again, or at least, if they're not the front man, have Congress like.
Abuse it. That's it. Abolish the two-party system. It's not working.
Yeah, but anyway, I don't talk politics too much. We're almost at 30-minute mark. Go ahead and do your plug.
Man, my only plug is my Twitter. You guys can follow me at NoDQVice. I am just tweeting out random political shit. You might get offended. I am tweeting out wrestling things, random things I like, don't like. It's still a fun time. I still like to have banter. I have not been doing a lot of wrestling shows lately just because, again, it's been really hard for me to watch, and it's getting better. I guess I feel like a recovering addict. I'm getting back on the horse. I'm going to start watching again. I do miss doing the content, though, because it's good to have these conversations, especially in COVID, man. I work remote from home every day, so I have no interaction with real people.
I know when you're using that time, it's with your girl or a video game, so I'm fine with that.
Right. But like today, man, sometimes I lose track of time. You sent me a message. You're like, dude, I'm on Skype. I'm like, oh shit, it's like 8:40. So I get
Well,
it,
good. We
but
got one in the can, so I
we
can
got one
send
in the
this to
can.
Noel and
Right,
Andre. I feel good. I didn't even
right.
do my show with Vito tonight because I'm doing a bunch of extra
Cool.
stuff, and I just
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
Vito, and I wanted to get this done
Yeah,
because
for
I've been
sure.
putting it off for so long.
But we
So
do need to
thank
do this
you,
again soon.
thank you,
Again soon.
Rob.
Yeah. Thank you.
You can follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_virtue. But this is thebigvitobrand.com. This is also wrestlingwithwrestling.com. And I am Virtue. That is Robbie Vice. This has been Virtue's Brand of Wrestling, aka Virtue and Vice. And I think Andre calls it Wrestling with Virtue. Whatever you want to call it, thanks for listening. Send us feedback on Twitter. We'd like to hear your thoughts. Again, everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.